Welcome to Did She Really Say That? The podcast for women who are done following the traditional business rules that don't serve us. I am your host, Katrina Van Housden, and in every episode, we break down what it really takes to scale your business as a woman. No burnout, no BS, no apologies. So if you're ready to discover how your natural female intelligence can become your biggest and most authentic advantage, grab your free guide at createherplanner.com/free. Now let's dive into today's episode. So I'm super excited that we have our guest Annie with us today because you've gone through a transition between corporate world into entrepreneurship. You've transitioned from the world of media into health. Like there's just been this incredible journey, and I'm excited to have you here on Did She Really Say That to talk about this journey. So for those of our listeners, a little bit about Annie. She is a nutritionist and women's health coach. And I see this as becoming like a huge thing right now, and we need more women doing this, to be honest. She supports the needs of professional women at midlife, giving them confidence to do what they want to do with the energy that they need. How many of you are feeling energy depleted? Yes, right? This is why I have Annie here. She's an endurance athlete with, okay, I am so jealous, but also kind of intimidated. She's done 12 marathons, 3 Ironman triathlons. Holy bleep. That's awesome, right? So she definitely lives what she preaches. I've only completed, I think, like 5 marathons in my life, a couple of halves, never gone for the whole Ironman. So she's had 25 years as a brand consultant working with executives of Fortune 500 companies, giving her a really good, solid background on how to serve the wellness needs of those with busy lives because she's lived through it, right? So experience, provides solutions. So she's a regular speaker to media, corporations, and lifestyle organizations on various topics around health. So Anne, thank you so much and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Katrina. This is going to be a great conversation.
Yeah, so let's just dive into this. So let's dive into your background. So 3 businesses, corporate background. Talk to me how this transition happened.
Yeah, so I think the biggest transition is the last one, where I really left behind the brand and marketing world and decided, okay, I need to do something different. And, everybody thinks that you have this major moment. And for some people, probably it happens. In my case, it was a slow drip. And when I started marathoning, you talked about that in the intro, I discovered that I friggin' loved it. And honestly, it was not in me. It's something that I discovered late in life. So for those who think that could never be me, I've never been like that. Let me tell you, it was not me. And I was offered a little opportunity for coach after a few years with
Okay.
the group that I was with. And I just thought it was the best thing since sliced bread. I had never been happier. Now, coaching like that doesn't quite pay the bills. So
No, you wouldn't say.
I wish it did because that's what I would have done honestly the next day.
Yeah.
But so for a long time, the thought in the back of my head, Katrina, was I gotta find a way to work in this world. I gotta find a way. And this world was really fuzzy, right? It was like health and wellness. Well, that's pretty large, right? And I had no formal education in this world. So it just kept on being the back of my head.
Mm.
Sometimes we do things in life out of necessity. It's like, hey, there's bills to pay and, there's a fire here and when you need to put it out.
Yeah.
Um, this transition, I wanted it to be like really purposeful, right? It was like, if I'm going to do this, truly because I'm loving this. And it was the first time in my life that I understood the whole notion of having a vocation. Because my
Mm.
previous business, there's lots of things that I loved, and I love my clients and what it afforded me to do, but it was definitely not a vocation.
It
This
was a job.
one, yes, it was a job, and it's a job that I really enjoyed and the people I loved. But this was the first time that I went, oh, this is what it means to have a vocation. I thought it was for for people who became, nuns or nurses. I thought it was like this big thing. And I was like, it's finally happening to me. But it took me a long time, wrapping this up. It took me a long time to figure out how can I make this happen.
Mm.
And let me tell you, I had a lot of coffee chats with people who had done a transition. And that is an advice I give to everybody all the time. If you want to make a transition, go talk to the people who have done it. Save yourself a lot of scraped knees right?
Yeah.
And a lot of tears sometimes and frustration and go learn. And that's how the idea of going back to school to become a nutritionist, because I thought, it's related. And it doesn't matter if I don't become a nutritionist, at least I'll have a shingle on my head over my door,
Right.
and I will have had some education around health and wellness, and then I'll see what I'm going to do with it. So that's kind of how the transition happened.
And I love that transition because I think you gave some really good points for this one. And when I say I think there is that moment where you go from career to like vocation, like you're like, there is a bigger calling. Like I've done what I've done, I'm good at it, I enjoyed it, but there's something more in my life. And I really like the fact that you said, go find the woman that's transitioned. And I will say it's a woman. For all my women listeners out there, you know, I'm an advocate for women talking and mentoring women because our transition looks very different and very seasonal depending on where we're at in our life. So when we go from that career corporate space into an entrepreneurial space, there's a whole rewire in your mindset, in your thinking that we often don't think about, and also a skill set. I mean, Annie, let's be honest, you have an incredible skill set around what you've learned in the world of media, Fortune 500 companies, the processes you put together, the SOPs. You take all that and you bring it into a business, right?
Yes,
Because
absolutely. And your skills to speak to people, to negotiate, to ask, to present, to network, that was incredibly precious.
yeah, and I think we forget that as women. Honestly, I've met so many women, Annie, that is like, oh, I forgot I had that skill set. Even for me, I was reminded recently, and I was like, oh yeah, you forget all the things that we do because we do so many. It sometimes it's crazy.
Oh yes. Oh yes. And I think that we underestimate how much you repurpose, right?
Yeah.
Because humans are humans, right? Whether they work in a Fortune 500 company or you're helping them, baking in the kitchen, like you're still the same person.
Yeah, you take you with you everywhere you go. So
Exactly.
let's talk about this transition. So what had you look at like midlife for women as that transition that this was the group of women you wanted to help around nutrition, wellness, like why was that such an important and why that transition?
So I like to say that when I went back to school, I was like ancient, right? In that context, because the women that were in my class, like 90% of them, 5 years
Mm,
old, really lovely and all that, but obviously a very different stage of life. I did not know. I was in perimenopause myself at the time.
okay.
Um, and around me, my friends, what I saw was that the wheels were starting to fall off a little bit at a time. When somebody had cancer, somebody else had an autoimmune disease, and people were starting to have all kinds of aches and pains that were unexplained. And I thought, look at this. Everybody is so focused on fertility, and there's nothing wrong with that, and pediatrics, but who's going to take care of us now? Like,
Mm,
and I think that we all know that we live in a pretty ageist society. And I thought we have so much work to do because what I was feeling was that in my 40s, I was finally hitting my stride. And there was not
yes.
enough tea in China to make me go back to be 25.
I
Oh,
agree. How many,
right.
wait, I'm gonna pause because how many women listening go, yes, thank God somebody said it. Like, I don't want to get younger. I want to embrace this brilliant stage in my life right now.
Totally. I was like, it has nothing to do with how my body is looking or how firm my breasts are. Like, I was like, who
You're
cares about all this? I'm just so much happier as a human being. I love who I am now, where I spent my 20s and my 30s criticizing myself every day, day and night. It was a bit catalyst. It was like, oh my God, there's an opportunity here. And
mm.
this was before menopause was hot, right, as a topic.
No pun intended, but that was awesome.
Right. And, to the point where some people were like, are you sure you really want to focus on that stage of life? And I was like, damn right I am.
Oh yeah.
It was definitely a lot more taboo than it is now. I mean, we still see a lot of shush, but we've come a long way. So
Yeah.
it was the right call.
It was brilliant because honestly, it's one area that is often misunderstood or misdiagnosed, especially in women. I think I was reading a study or heard somebody say that like 80% of women's health is misdiagnosed because they don't understand what we're actually experiencing, especially in that peri and menopause. And after that, it's like, oh, it's all in your head. You're making it up. And we're like, what do you mean? Like, that's not a
It's
truth.
just stress,
Yeah,
you're
oh,
just
yeah.
tired. Yeah, absolutely. And we know there is very good data that tells us how much women are not getting the care. There was a frightening statistic the other day that I read that it was close to 6 out of 10 women coming out of the doctor's office felt they had been dismissed and not heard at all and getting the support or the answers that they need. So
This is why your work is so
frightening.
important, honestly, and the work of all the women that I see that are moving into this, because I feel like we're finally collectively getting a voice for women's health. Like there is almost there's I run across these every single one of you, and I'm like, we need more because you guys are each serving, and there's billions of women on this planet that don't know. The younger generation coming in, my mother didn't know this, her mother didn't know this, so it's like we are in that central point of science being accessible to women to study
Yes.
and the ability to really support women in this conversation.
Absolutely. It's I always say we cannot treat this as a disease. Midlife and menopause is a natural stage, right?
Yeah.
And it's the reverse of puberty with all the hormones were ramping up. Now it's the opposite. This is a normal stage of life, and we
Yes.
need to adapt and we need new tools, and it's not one size fits all. So we need to educate women. In my own education, in my
Yeah.
own schooling, we got a fraction of what we should have gotten.
No, no, I agree. I mean, like we were chatting before we jumped on this podcast in our original meet and greet. I said, one of the first things I ever found out about was that females have an infradian rhythm. Like I was like, what the bleep? I was like, we've always talked about the circadian rhythm as that's the forefront of our lives, but
Mhm.
we have a dual cycle. Our infradian rhythm is our cycle, but we like live inside pretend that the circadian rhythm is our natural rhythm all the time. So finding that out. But again, the science of that study has only been accessible in the last 30 years for women to go in and actually start learning this. So, I mean, this is an incredible topic, and I definitely want to keep going. I will say to all my listeners, just connect with Annie on this topic because I really want to dive into some of the business piece. So, what has been the biggest struggle in building your business? What have been some of the roadblocks that you really wish somebody had said, by the way, because you mentioned this, right? We tie it back to the beginning. Find somebody that's gone through this. So, what would be something that you would, what's been one of the biggest struggles for you?
There was such a huge mindset shift
Mhm.
from having been B2B for 25 years and then going to B2C. And that's a very different sales process, sales cycle. The tools are different. It was a really big, ramping up. The other thing that was interesting is I was starting with zero network in one way because I had had one hat for so many years. And suddenly it was like, hey, I'm Annie and I'm a nutritionist. And it was like, I needed to be in new rooms, right? And I did not know
Yeah.
how to find my people. And if even though I had a solid marketing background and I understood, demographics and where are those people and all that, it takes a lot of trial and error. You have to walk into a lot of rooms in order to determine, this is where it's going to be, right? So these two were the biggest challenges as I started the business. And I did both, by the way, for years. So for anybody that thinks, there's a clean cut and then boom, no, I did both. I worked days, evenings, weekends for a number of years until I
Yeah.
could pay the bills with the new business.
And I love that you said that because I think sometimes everyone thinks they need to jump off the cliff to go do this. Like even in my story, I said, I retired from Disney in 2013, but I was building websites and learning media back in 2006.
There
So
you
it
go.
was like 7 years of dripping, learning the skill set, saying that this is where I'm going to go. And so I love that you mentioned that because oftentimes we don't talk about that behind the scenes journey that allows us or has us make that what seems like a sudden shift to the rest of the world.
Yeah, you can still use one business or one career to finance the next step, right? And
Yeah.
then see how it's going to go. I think it's a fallacy to think that it's it's overnight and it's all gonna come. I think that this whole like do what you love and you'll never work a day, that's all BS.
Yeah, you can say bullshit. I'll allow that one. We do have an
Okay.
explicit on this podcast. Don't
And
feel
we
free
do
like you can't say the F word occasionally. It's fine.
we do disservice to women by telling them, it's all like, oh, you're aligned with health and wellness, and then like the skies parted. No, it got harder like a lot longer before it got easier.
So that leads to a question I have for you that often comes up with women. I just sat through a money mingle with a group of women. We talked about money. So how did you come to pricing for your product and your services? Did it start at one point? Has it evolved? What's been that journey for you?
Yeah. Oh my God. Money is so big, right? Like I used to have a business coach and I recommend a business, like you don't become great. You don't become Serena Williams. You don't become Madonna and Beyonce and the best of the best without coaches, right?
Yeah,
So
multiple coaches, not just one, multiple.
exactly. So a
Yeah,
good business coach. I remember where was I going to go with this? Menopause brain for a moment. Oh, yes. So she had said to me, your business is only going to grow as much as you grow. Right?
true.
And a lot of what she implied in that statement was your own money mindset. Right. So if you think you're new and you don't know a lot, therefore you should be just charging $200 a session, it's going to be really hard to pay your bills. So I got coaching and I got pushed. I got pushed
Mhm.
to increase my rates, right? And I would have the big, oh my God, yes, right?
Yes.
And then, people go, yeah, okay, fine. And then you go, okay, I'm a moron. I should have been on top of this a lot earlier. But bottom line is that, you realize um, that you need to really make sure that your pricing, there's a little bit of competitive set for sure. But it's at the end of the day, it's your value. And, and
Yeah.
I am obsessed with value. I think that that's where we need to be to support our people. So my clients have unlimited access to me because that's what I want to be for people. And that's
Yeah.
the value they pay for. They're not calling me 12 times a day, of course they're not. So all that to say that that's a lot how I wrap my head around the whole pricing point of view. And eventually you go, oh yeah, like I really help these women and they sleep better because of me. They're not crying as much, right? They're actually happier. It's like, yes.
Yeah, and that transition, I think, for money is that one of the things I've come to discover over my years of just diving deeper into we have a lot of blocks around money because we didn't have access to money in a lot of ways. So here in the United States, we had a law passed back in 1974 that gave women access to opening a bank account without a male signature.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
52 years of actually controlling and having the opportunity to play with their own money. There's a lot of mindset we've got to unravel as women because we didn't know. I mean, we're not generations out. We're barely a generation
We are
of women.
newbies,
Yeah, we're
totally.
super newbies to money, how it works, how it financially plays out. So
Yeah,
I think this is just a beautiful conversation because it's not perfect. You're going to price at different points. You're going to grow. You're going to pour into yourself. We've seen the corruption of money. We've seen people make big, bold promises and give absolutely nothing on the back end. And I think as women, we're like, that's not how you do it. So I do appreciate
absolutely.
that conversation with you.
And you learn, right? Like I remember charging somebody, I don't know, I think it was a $1,400 package and realized, oh my God, that was so underpriced. Never again. Right. So you still you go ahead and do a great job
Evaluation.
for that person, but then you go, that was stupid, right?
Yeah.
That's not smart. So next time, right? Okay. And that's the beauty of it, right? You learn and then you adjust.
Yeah. And I think for a lot of times as women, I hear the word, I want to beta test it. I want to make sure I'm providing the value before I. If you guys didn't see Annie just rolled her eyeballs, you guys totally missed it. Talk to me about that.
Oh my God. This is exactly, the parallel is women not applying for new jobs because they don't believe that they have 100% of all the qualifications, where men, if they have about 70, they go, I'm going for it. That promotion is for me. Like, it's the same mindset. It's absolutely the same mindset. It's a mindset of, am I good enough? As opposed to, I'm definitely good enough. And wherever I need to learn, I am going to figure it out because
Yeah.
women are extremely resourceful and always figure it out. Right. So we lose so much time. Right. If there was one thing that I would say to anybody is like, oh, maybe I would like to make a transition or, excuse me, explore new business, I would say, do not wait. Don't waste time. Just go and start. And just like I said, you will sell a package and you'll go like, oh my God, I should have never given that to 297, and you'll never do it again. And next time you'll charge them the real value. But don't go beta test and like waste
Yeah.
precious,
I,
precious time.
I think, okay, you've heard it from Annie, and I'm going to repeat that again because that was her. Did she really say that moment here on this podcast? Because I am tired of you ladies sitting here and saying, I got to beta test. I got to first prove to myself that this works. Like this constant need to refine before you do. I've done it. I'm not saying I haven't done it. I have done it more times than I can count. Like I'm guilty as charged. But if we can impart a wisdom, Annie and I, on you, it's stop wasting time trying to prove it or get it perfect before it goes out there. That perfection comes and refinement comes when you're talking to the customer, when you're talking to the client, when you're in the moment with them. That's where the refinement comes.
Absolutely. They'll ask you for tools and resources and you'll be like, I don't have it, but I'm going to hustle and I'm going to provide it to you, right?
Yeah.
This is a difference between people who succeed and grow and those who always stay at this very low level of success, right? And because we don't realize that those who are very successful, they're always trying new things, by the way. They're launching and then they go, nope, next. But they try, they fail quickly, and then they start again. And then they polish and they refine, and we're into 2.0 and 3.0. They fail all the time, right? Women have, and the myth of perfection is just a veil for insecurity.
Ooh. Say that again. The veil for perfection is just a
The,
veil.
the myth of perfection is
Mhm.
a veil for insecurity, right? So because we've always been told, oh, you're a nice girl, you do everything, you must be doing this. We don't reward women for messiness. We don't reward women for trying, falling, right? But
It's like
we
they
do
have to
that
be
for
perfect
women.
all the time. Makeup perfect, figure perfect, face perfect, clothes
Yep.
perfect. Like there's this beige bullshit look of like what it looks like to be a woman. It keeps getting younger and younger. And I'm like, dude, I like my wisdom years. Like I think I get gorgeous as I age. Like I am gorgeous. I am beautiful. Like I don't want to go back. I am embracing this, evolution of who I am and the beauty and the wisdom of that. And so there's just something crazy, and it's all marketing. Oops, sorry, Annie.
It is, absolutely. And it hurts women's health, right?
Yeah.
Because I think that what I know and what I see in my practice is this wanting to be perfect paralyzes women from doing the right thing. Because I go, if you have 15 minutes tomorrow, or 12 and a half minutes to be doing a few squats and exercises on the floor, well, I want you to do that.
Yeah.
12 and a half minutes, right? Yes, that is a win because
Yeah.
that day is going to be busy and so on. But this perfection of, well, no, it should be the perfect class and it should be 45 minutes and I should come back drenched and it should be this and it should be that. Perfection. Then it's holding us back. Right.
Mm,
Because what happens is women will say, like, well, no, I'm just not going to bother.
yeah,
And this
it's
is
true.
one of the biggest deterrent to good health is the seeking perfection all the time. Holy Jesus, like it is every day I fight this. I will tell you, every day I have to tell a client, I'm trying to find new ways to say it because they're so tired of hearing me repeat that.
So this kind of ties into the next question I was going to have. Is this the common thread that you see with high achieving women or the women that you're working with at that high career, high entrepreneurial level? Is this the constant challenge that comes up with your talking about women and them taking care of their health?
I would say that along with it's not a good time right now because I have so many other priorities, right? So I was at a conference speaking 2 weeks ago to the accountants, very high level professional, and a very accomplished ex PricewaterhouseCooper partner, a woman that actually achieved so many things, broke barriers for women, spoke before me. And she
Mm.
said, I came back from this gig that she had had internationally, and she was like, I'm 20 pounds heavier, and my health is not in a good place. And this was the moment where I realized, oh my God, it has always been other priorities. And this shell was not even in the mix of priorities, not even on the list, right?
Yeah.
Never mind. So this is the problem that I see, that we think that we have to sacrifice, and it's ingrained from a long time ago. Like you can't have it all. You
Centuries.
can't have it all. Um, and you must sacrifice everything, right? Like Jeanne d'Arc here. So we're fighting that aspect as well. It's not the right time. I just got promoted. I just heard that a couple of weeks ago from a woman who's like, "Oh, well, it's the end of the quarter and it's crazy town here." And there is always something.
Yeah. I would
So,
say that's kind of been like our synergy between that is when I created the Create Her Planner, that was the first thing I put in there was what is your self-care? It's up front, right in your face, and a big bull box is like, what are you doing for yourself? Because that was the same thing I recognized in working with women is that we never put ourselves first. Even when I was building my business, I'm sure you can relate to this too. I was never the priority. It was always the client. It was always the other business. It was everything else. And I realized at one point that I was alive from the head up, but dead from the neck down.
yes, 100%. And then we
Crazy.
realize through the midlife transition that the brain health, cognition, plus mental health are like really take a toll during the midlife transition.
Yeah. Well, because
And
we're
I can't
to
ignore it.
manage that even in our 20s and 30s, we're not taught to
Of course
manage
not.
our own mental health because we're hormonally cycling every single month. But when then we come out of that, we're not even aware that that was happening, and then we come out of it and we're like, what the heck just happened? So it's like a catch 22 at this point.
Absolutely. So it's such a ecosystem for us, where the body absolutely needs to be nurtured, because it's not if something is going to manifest, it's when.
No, I agree. I'm laughing because I agree. Because it's like I always say, I'm gonna just wait for you to get sick because that's gonna be your body telling you you've just been running and running and running, and it's going to force you to stop.
Yes. And when you think about it, 75% of chronic diseases are preventable. This is why, right? It's going to manifest as blood pressure, as pre-diabetic, right? These are not things that are fun to deal with after the fact.
Yeah,
So, and then, the cost of you in terms of your happiness, your joy, your the quality of your relationships, that's like, what's the price on that?
yeah. It's expensive and it's not worth it at the end of the day. So we are at the end of the show. I can't believe, I feel like we could keep going, Annie. So as we're
Yes.
talking this, because this is such a great conversation between us. Like I really love how you're coming at this both from a career perspective, a business perspective, and the shift that we need and the awareness of it. So it's not only that you're building this business, but you're also creating that shift for women saying, if you don't start taking care of you, who will?
Mhm.
And it's so that's big thing. So if for someone that's starting a business or our younger generation that's coming into this world, what would be some recommendations or advice that you would have to impart on them?
Surround yourself with the energy that you want. If you want to be
Mm,
successful, surround yourself with the energy of successful women. The more you are in that environment, you're going to absorb it. Your behaviors are going to change. Cannot stress that enough. Right? And it doesn't matter if you're not at that level yet, because you will be. Just surround yourself with the energy that you want, because there is enough Debbie Downer energy in this world every day. And it takes a lot to run a business.
yeah,
It
it really
takes a
does.
lot to put yourself out there every day. So when you surround yourself with winners, and it doesn't mean the winners are like every day, but you will be so much more successful faster. Terrible grammar here. Wow, I just said
Nope,
this,
I'm good with that.
but people will understand that. So surround
Yeah.
yourself with wonderful, great people.
Yeah, people that lift you up and want to do that. And if you can't find it, go find an online group, go find a networking group. Just like Annie said, sometimes you have to expand your network because you mentioned it, Annie. I went from corporate media. Now I'm into like nutrition. I've got to go find another group of people. So there's a lot of tools out there that of finding community. Go to
Oh, yeah.
AI and ask if you really want to come up with a great list. But connect with your community around you. I think that's one of the big things I would recommend too. So, Annie, I know you have a special gift for our audience. So we've talked about the business, we've talked about the health, and I know you've got like a complimentary session. So tell our listeners a little bit about that session so how they can connect with you.
Yes, I think that it's so important for women to get some answers, right? So that they don't feel, we talked about being completely dismissed by doctors or physicians. So I love spending time with women. And for your community, what I will do, 30-minute complimentary call
Okay.
where we will have an opportunity to talk about, what is going on, what do you need, what resource do you need? 30 minutes, and it's no pressure. You don't have to work with me. If you want to work with me, that's great, but you don't have to. And I will give you, all the wisdom that I can. And you simply go to the website. I know that we will have a link in the show notes, but it's simply the website vive.ca, veev.ca.
Yes. And I love this. And for the listeners, definitely take advantage of this because you can never get enough access to information. And the one thing I've seen you women do, and I'm pointing each one of you out as you listen into this, is you don't take advantage of those free things because you're afraid you're going to be sold to. So one of the things I always recommend is like when I talk to my guests, this is an opportunity for you just to be heard and have a conversation without any force, push, or like hard sell tactics. These are not the women I bring onto my podcast. So I always invite you, if they do offer you a consultation, take advantage of it. All right. Well, Annie, thank you so much for being with me here today on Did She Really Say That? For my listeners, you know what I'm always going to make the request for. If you heard something, or if you heard something that you thought of a friend, a family member, and said, God, they need to hear this also, then please share. Let them help us spread the word. The more that we share this podcast out and what we're about here at Did She Really Say That, the more women we impact. And I'm really here to give a rise to the voice of women in business, the shift we're making, the challenges we face, and the awesomeness of who we are in the world. So thank you again, Annie. It's been an absolute pleasure. And for my listeners, we'll catch you on the next episode. Bye, everyone. If today's conversation hit home, don't just listen, take the next step. Download the free Create Her Authentically guide at createherplanner.com/free and discover how to build your business in alignment with your natural rhythm. And if you love this episode, please leave a review. It helps more women find the show. I'll see you in the next episode.